Welcome to welcome to our book club annual one in December. I can't do this. Our book that I chose is a comic, not even a book, by Critical Role, Vox Machina Origins. Yeah, and I chose this because I love Dungeons and Dragons. Mel, over to you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I thought this was fun. This was fun. It's one of those things that I felt that. No, I did think it was fun. I do think that it was probably something where I would have gotten more out of it if I'd known the characters a little bit better, especially at the beginning when it was starting out with it break down the groups and then who you went to look at. I was sort of like, what is going on? Does this matter? I can't remember all of this much information. But apart from that, I thought it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, cool. And enjoyed it.
That's good. Great. Liz? Going down like this, so don't freak out. I'm lost.
I'm not familiar with Critical Role stuff. Like I've not seen their stuff, but I am a second generation D&D player, and I've been playing for, let me think, 21 years. Although not Dungeons and Dragons recently. I moved on to other role-playing stuff, but I think that literacy probably helps with reading the comic. So overall, I enjoyed it. I found, like, even though I didn't really have any knowledge of like Critical Role or the characters, I found it, accessible and easy enough to read, and mostly enjoyed it. So I'd be tempted to kind of maybe look into Critical Role stuff, but it's such a backlog that it's been intimidating.
Yeah, no, it's a long process, but 100% worth it. But anyway, we'll discuss that in a minute. Kirsten.
So I have very similar feelings to Mel. Well, for a start, I've forgotten most of it now because I read it ages ago. Because I happened to be in the library looking for something to read, and my library had it, and I was like, well, I'm just going to sit down and just read this. And I basically just read the whole thing from cover to cover while I was waiting to pick my kids up from something. And that was like in September. So I remember that
I'll do a quick synopsis at the end.
Yeah, it was kind of a fun, easy read, but I did feel like it was like I was missing something because I didn't know the characters. I felt like it was I was not the demographic. First of all, I've never played D&D. I'm a little bit familiar with it just from, pop culture stuff, but like I've never actually played. And I've never seen any of the Critical Role stuff, and I felt like it did feel like kind of one of those things where if you already knew the characters from other media, that this would be just this extra bit. But I did think that it wasn't that I didn't understand it, or it wasn't that the story still made sense and it was a good little story on its own. I think it was more the connection to the characters that I didn't have because I hadn't seen other stuff.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's understandable. I think trying for it to be an entry level might work for some, but if you haven't got a grasp on D&D, then that's probably what would happen. Who wants Matt? I'm going to go like this. Yeah.
Right. Full disclosure, I had all intents to read this last night, and
Get out of here.
I got a third of the way through. Well, it's a bit over a third of the way through. It's somewhere between a third and a half. Before I could not keep my eyes open, and in fact I can't remember the last 3 or so pages, so I was already falling asleep. That's nothing to do with the book. No, I was just really tired last night.
I fell asleep halfway through too, don't worry.
So no, so again, similarly, I'm not familiar with Critical Role beyond the fact that I know that they exist and are a thing and that they do stuff. So being an Origins, being an Origins type book, I also got the feeling that like it's one of those things where it's like I would get more out of this if I was already familiar with the characters and stuff, and it's like, oh, let's see their history and where they came from. So I don't feel like I was getting the ultimate benefit out of it. I really enjoyed the art style. It's very much the kind of art style that I like. So that was a big plus. And for what I've read so far, I've enjoyed. But I don't think I'm getting the maximum out of it that I would if I was already familiar with them. I am not a regular role player, but I have played D&D on more than one occasion, and I'm fairly familiar with D&D mechanics, specifically in role playing in general. So, I've got that level of familiarity with stuff, but I still had fun, and I will definitely finish it. I don't lem stuff, so we'll get through it.
That's good. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter
know what lem means.
I don't
Yeah, I was going to say, who knows what lem means in this group?
Oh,
is that not a more widely known term?
That's a sword and laser thing.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Kim, you done, Matt? You're done, Kim?
Yep.
Sorry. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I've actually only ever played D&D one single session of actual D&D, but I've played other role-playing games. And I really like this. It just reminded me of being back, starting a campaign with friends and all, starting somewhere and coming together. So even though I haven't, same as pretty much everyone, I know what Critical Role is. I just have no idea. Like, I haven't actually watched anything from them. So I really like the story because it just reminded me of, those sessions together with my friends and starting out a game and building up your character and everything like that. And it was sort of a world that, even though I haven't played D&D, playing things like World of Warcraft, you sort of got those characters, and those other fantasy games are very similar as well. So I didn't really notice, like, not knowing the characters at all, that I enjoyed it less. I think because I have that sort of, I've played those role-playing games and I know that sort of getting into your first steps of that it was really enjoyable for me because I really related to that sort of thing. I sort of know what it's like to make my own story like that, so I enjoyed this starting from the beginning.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, sorry. All right, so that's good. Everyone's got a positive review on it, which is, I was hoping, but I also didn't know what to expect either, I guess. It is hard to kind of, for them to incorporate each character and have their own little snippet of their own origin, which if I can give you a little bit of backstory of Vox Machina, they didn't start playing or being live when they came together with Geek and Sundry. Like, they were playing together years beforehand. They were like level 11, I think, before they actually started recording and making it a live thing. And so,
what does level 11 mean?
Start at 1.
Start at 1.
But like,
so
in concept 11, of like a time or something. I don't know what that means.
It'll probably be, depending on how often they played, it'll be a couple of years
beforehand, before getting to like level 11.
Yeah,
because it's hard to get a group together. Yeah, sorry, that's okay. And so I looked at the first episode in the Vox Machina campaign 1, and the first town was called Craghammer, and they must have been like level 11, I think. I'm not sure, but yeah, I thought it was not a bad book. I did have some idea of the characters, so I think I probably enjoyed it a bit more than everyone else. And plus, I have been watching campaign 2 like every single episode since it started 2 years ago. So I'm a huge fan of the characters. And so, yeah, I fell in love pretty quickly. And I got their humor. Like, I get where the humor comes from and how it relates to the person playing the character or the different characters. And yeah, I thought it was really good. I am going to get volume 2 because I feel like it's just not enough. Like, yeah, right, it took a while for them to all to get together, and then you had that, they had to meet, they had to do God, what's that ship called, and what's that boss called? Is Zelda?
Something like that.
Is
Something
Zelda?
like that.
The woman with the 6 arms, that one.
6 arms, that's right. And yeah, it took a while for that all to happen, and obviously figure out the plot, but it was pretty good.
Yeah, I could see that like they were just sort of getting together, and you weren't getting to that point where you got to enjoy that character interaction and things on those lines. So, but I'm mostly curious as to what's going on with the beginning bits with the two groups.
Oh no, I can explain.
That confused me at first, but I got it at the second time.
Yeah, I'll explain. So, because this is something I really, really liked about it. So, okay, here's the page. At the top, this is like probably maybe the end of the campaign, maybe the middle, like they're being pretty successful here. So this is the point where like the people who are already familiar with Critical Role will know these characters. These are the characters.
Right, okay.
Now this one is like an earlier stage. It's the same group. A couple of the characters have changed, but and they're less successful. Like you can see they're wearing less bling. They have less titles and that sort of thing. And
I didn't even notice that.
That's kind of like the beginning phase, right? Then it takes you back further to just focus on a few members of that group.
Yeah, that step I got.
This is like level 1. This is like level 20.
Yeah.
I had to look at Grog's hair to realise it was going in reverse chronological.
Yeah. Well, that's what I sort of figured it was, but I also was like, I think that's very muchly, that first panel at least is very muchly for the people who must have watched the actual campaign then. Because for me, it meant nothing. Whereas the second panel, I was like, okay, so this is what they're going to become by the end of the book. And so I got that much, and that was fine. But I was like, what's this first one? Why is the dragon dude gone? Because he was really cool. I liked him.
Tiberius. I don't want to ruin it for you.
Yeah, don't ruin it for me. I don't want to know, but I know I'm never going to watch it because I tried. I remember when you first started watching all of it, Jazz, and I tried, but 3 hours per episode was too much to consume.
But you can do the podcast. See, that's what I've been doing this whole.
That's what I did was the podcast. I was outside exercising, and I was like, okay, I can do this. Wait, I'm only a third of the way through. I'm never going to make
I
this.
admire your trying it at least. That takes a lot of effort. It is, it's a long series. I would recommend actually watching an episode though, because that's where you find the charisma, and that's what you fall in love with. Their charisma, the way they play the game, and the battles, and then the way. 100% watch an episode.
So I have two questions about the episodes then. Are they free, or do you have to actually subscribe?
No, they're free.
Okay.
You can watch all of Vox Machina campaign 1 on YouTube, which is on Geek and Sundry, or maybe it's just on Critical Role now. I'm not sure.
I know a lot of stuff split off from Geek and Sundry.
Yeah, because they obviously got the funding. To start their own, which is great. But campaign 1, I just watched. Campaign 2, they had their last episode today. I'm really sad, guys.
Oh, God.
Last episode for the 2020. So.
It's the end of the year already, so it's all right. Yeah. It's not too long to go.
The other question was.
And you can subscribe, but you can also watch it for free on Twitch on the day when it is aired. But you can't.
Do they show characters? No. Like, was this the first time they'd ever seen a printed form like this? You have never seen character versions of them before?
So this was obviously they made the issues first.
Yeah.
And then
but outside of the comic, like they don't no one's done art for it.
Yeah, 100%. Critical Role has one of the biggest fan artists in the world.
But not official. I guess I'm trying to ask if this is the first appearance of these character designs in any kind of officially.
So the character designs would be done up and shown on probably the first episode of campaign 1. They would have like a little artist,
so they have
like a
existed
little
from the start.
Yeah. But then as they gain armor, gain whatever, everyone has their own little like spin on it. You know, every artist is different, but yeah. So yeah. So campaign 1 is all
It does talk a little bit about character and character design at the end.
At the end, yeah, it does.
Yeah, I haven't got that far yet.
Yeah, you only just showed the way in. Have you even had all of the character design, but I didn't read it.
No, I'm up to basically the bit that I can't remember is here, where there appears to be some sort of torturing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the orc lady.
Yeah. So that's where I got up to.
That's the
I remember them fighting the frog god though. That was fun.
Frog, the fish god.
Fish god versus frog god. I think they were like
frog god
had a bit of a face off. Yeah.
So yeah, it just makes you think like this must have been I'm not 100% sure whether it is a story that Matt told them when they were at their own house, you know, like just role playing. It could have been one of the many scenarios that the DM had made that they never managed to counter, so they could just make it up. I don't really know the source of this book, unfortunately, or this comic. But yeah, I will be getting volume 2 and all the others. I think there's 6 volumes. I kind of wish I got the issues though.
What's the difference? In terms of why?
More cover art.
Right.
Well, usually the volumes have the cover art from the issues sort of
inside it, yeah.
In the back.
Yeah.
It's
Each
in the back,
one, I think some are different though. You can get different, what are they called? Variants.
Mm.
And so I think,
Who did this? Is Dark Horse? They published this one, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, which they're quite renowned, aren't they?
Image are good for doing that kind of thing. I've found is like having cover art in the back, and some other publishers as well. But Dark Horse, well, at least for this one, they haven't really done it. There's one example where they've got like one cover to sort of show that this is how it was put together.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But not like here are the covers of the individual issues.
No, that's true, because some of them also do it like even through the whole book where they
they split it with the covers in the middle.
Yeah.
Which I think is nice considering, I mean, you're paying nearly $34 for a comic.
But I can get from like a business standpoint why they go this way, because their model is that they want people to buy the issues, even though I think it's stupid because I don't ever buy issues. And so my purchase never counts towards their considering something popular. And but in the end, that's what they do consider popular, and so they want to push you to buy it in some way. So maybe this is one way they do it, because we just saw Jazz would sponsor it.
I do really badly. But I will get, you know, just I'm also, you know, got a mortgage and stuff, so I can't just buy a book whenever I want. But I think I'll get all of them. Maybe the issues. Maybe 3. 2 or 3 of ones I really like.
You can tell when it's someone's actually obsessed with something. I already own it, but I'm going to buy the breakdown version of it because I want this extra artwork.
I totally get that.
Yeah, so do I. As someone who buys multiple copies of books, totally get it.
I know. Yeah, that's true.
I also was wondering, because the cover is not the same artwork as the inside, and I was trying to work out why the characters looked so familiar. And then I saw who the cover artist was, and I realised why.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I listened to a couple of podcasts where people were trying to get him to say his name, and he says, "No, I like to keep it a secret. I like listening to all you American people muck up my name." So he's the guy, the creator and illustrator for Sunstone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
For what? Sorry, for what?
Sunstone.
Which is a comic series we've read.
Oh, okay.
Highly recommend
He's done,
it.
he's
really
done other
good.
stuff, but that's
I'd like it.
It's not fantasy. It's a romance story, but
it's an erotica romance.
Yes.
Hands down, I'm into it.
Yes.
All steep. Maybe not.
Well, not in this one.
Heavy on the romance side.
Well,
I do.
maybe in some of the later ones.
Some characters, yeah.
I personally think that it has BDSM elements, yes, but it is very much.
It's essentially a romance, yeah.
Yeah.
No comment.
Strong opinions on this.
I haven't read it yet.
But
I love Seth Stone, and I think that it's particularly good because it is a romance that just deals with the reality of people in their actual circumstances.
And he recognised that too. But getting back to Vox Machina.
Big on topic.
I did find it a bit dialogue heavy in places for a graphic novel. You can tell, like that, it's been influenced by like its original medium, because it is quite talky in places.
But you can also tell that they're being clever with their talky. So it's not like
it's a bit meta
comics.
in places.
Yeah, it's a bit meta and all of those sorts of things. But like, you know, old schools like 90s comics where it was just way too much talking, and it's before they went and looked at like the Japanese style comics and understood how to do action better. There was that stage where they just talked a lot because that they didn't know what else to do. This was talking for a different reason, which was, like you said, its origin, and also because they like to be clever with language because of their origins. So
I've got a bard, so I mean, that's what bards do.
Let me sing you a tale.
And you just wandered around going, I'm breaking the third wall constantly. Not too directly, but just enough.
Just enough, yeah. Or they need to obviously to let you know that if they're casting this spell or they're doing whatnot, you know what I mean? Like, so they gave, that's what I liked about it as well. I'm like, I know that spell. Oh, I know what they're doing. Oh, awesome. Like,
in fact, one of the other things that made me laugh is that they actually show the dungeon grid for when they're going through the sewers.
That's what I was wondering.
I was going to mention that.
Yeah, I was like, is that a grid for an actual dungeon? What's going on here?
And that's their initials.
Yeah, so it's the initials of the characters and the guards.
You want to know how I knew what this was? Because I've never played D&D. I've never even tried to play D&D because I can't do the role play thing. I'm not very good at that side of things. Staying in character is bad.
That's why I don't do it.
Yeah, I just make a fool of myself and I feel very embarrassed. But Nye had me help him to map out a dungeon for an online game, like it was a text-based game that he used to actually develop for. And so I developed this whole, like he was struggling under the weight of everything he was trying to do. So I was like, just give me this bit and I'll do the dungeon bit for you. I was like, I've played a World of Warcraft. I can do this. That's fucking what it looked like. And I was like,
yep.
Easy. And fun. So fun. Yeah, I like that little element.
Finish my vodka.
Well.
Yeah, I thought that was cute the first time I saw it. I'm like, what's this? Oh, it's Dungeon Grid.
Anyone want to say, well, did anyone get enough from any character? Who was your favourite character?
Oh, I'm the Druid lady. I loved her.
Yeah,
I did love the Druid lady, but I also love the Dragonborn guy.
Yeah.
Even though he just wasn't in it enough for me.
Yeah. I was just like, these guys want to follow them, please.
I know. You kind of just wish they had their own little side path a little bit longer, maybe.
Well, that's why I'm so upset. Why isn't he not in the first picture? I don't want to know anything bad. Don't tell me, but you know.
Oh no. In the campaign, love. He's not in the campaign anymore. That's all. He's still alive. He's just
okay. He's not.
I assumed that they changed
which is really nice.
membership due to death. So.
Well.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought the character died and then built a new character.
No, the guy that played him is no longer with Critical Role anymore. I don't know the reason, but I really loved his character in the book as well.
I love playing druids normally, but I was like, I could play a dragon. Maybe I could play D&D, but then I was like, no, you can't play D&D. But dragon's cool.
Dragonborn.
Yeah. They make great monks.
Oh, I just love his character. So perfect. He did such a good job. He was a sweetheart. Very, very inspiring.
Although I was curious to see who's a red dragon.
Oh, he's a Dragonborn, isn't he?
He's Dragonborn, yeah.
Then maybe I'm not super across the most up-to-date Dungeons and Dragons rules at the moment, so they might have changed alignment requirements. But red dragons were usually of an evil alignment.
Okay. So I'm not sure with alignments. All I know is that, like, with my character, I'm cold. I'm a dwarf, but I have draconic bloodline because I'm a sorcerer. I don't know. So that's sorcerer alignment. So I guess he's more actually half bloody dragon, isn't he? So it's probably be totally different.
I did enjoy also there's some really nice work on the sibling characters and showing how their alignment is different. So that they have, although they're together and they share like a common goal, their like attitude to life is really quite different, and it does a lovely job of showing that.
Yeah, true. And I like that little bit where she's like, "I'm the nice one," and then the
fun one or something, right?
Oh no, I'm. Yeah, she's like, "I'm the nice one," or the brother isn't. Like he might be nice on the surface, but. And then you cut to him like slaughtering everyone in the next couple of pages. I was like, yeah. So Vexalia and Vax.
I get them confused.
Vex
and Vax.
Vaxilidon.
Vex and Vax, yeah.
Hang on.
I actually enjoyed that.
It's on the first page.
So good.
Vaxilidon.
Vexalia and Vaxilidon. Oh, fun fact, the voice of him is actually Illidan in World of Warcraft. In Critical Role, yeah. Yep. They're all famous voice actors that you've probably heard playing a game or watching, anime. So, yeah. I wish you guys would watch it. This is why I'm doing it, just so you can get on the bandwagon.
I enjoyed what I listened to of it. I will 100% agree. It was just pure amount of content, like compared to an audiobook, compared to I was just like, I can't, this is a mountain that I cannot climb.
I think
that's what when everyone suggests something that's been running for like 50 seasons, you're like, I'm sure it's great.
Have you guys seen One Piece? Oh man!
Hey, want to watch
Naruto or something like that? I'm like, oh, I'm sure it's great. I can't even begin to start.
No, exactly that. It's just too big. It's too big.
That's not a gate. Yeah, it's not a gateway drug, right? It's got to start with something little.
It's kind of like trying to start. What's Brandon Sanderson's current series that he's doing that you guys are reading that's really, really long?
Yeah, Stormlight.
All of them?
Yeah, well, yes, but this one in particular, I looked at interest with it until I heard that it was going to be something like 7 or 9 books long. And
it's 10 books. That's 10 books, but
delicious to me. That's delicious.
Like they're doing the same. He's doing the same thing he did with Mistborn, where he's got he's going to do 5 books, and then the next 5 are set in the same world, but they're like hundreds of years in the future and different characters.
I mean, if you are not familiar with his work or like series, like you're just going to look at those 10 books and go, nah, sorry.
That's exactly what I did. I am familiar with his work. I was just like, no, it was bad enough with Mistborn. I'm not doing more.
You loved Mistborn though. I
did. I thoroughly
the King, Way of the Kings, didn't you?
I never read Way of the Kings.
What?
It's too long. It's too long, and I am not taking on that series. I'm not taking on that series.
I just finished book 4 the other day.
I've got too much to do. I've got too much else to read. I'm sorry. I've experienced Brandon Sanderson and I'm ready to move on.
I think Mistborn was the gateway drug for Brandon Sanderson. For sure.
Enough. Anyway, back on topic.
Man?
Who wants to go? Who wants to talk about what did you think of Scanlan?
I can't remember.
He was funny. I liked him. Here's the dwarf.
He's the bard.
Bard dwarf.
Bard dwarf, yeah. We went wrong. I was just giving you a description.
No, isn't he half elf?
Oh, is he half elf?
He's a
He's gnome.
Oh, he's gnome. Oh, yeah, of course he's not a dwarf. Duh. Sorry, looks nothing like a dwarf. I'm just like, dwarves are short, right? He's a dwarf. Yeah.
Oh, he's smaller. He's 3 foot. Dwarves are like 4 foot.
Yeah. He's funny. I can see that one of the, he's the comedian of the group.
Yeah.
He's the role player that likes to put in all the, because you could see the starts of he was singing popular songs.
Yeah.
And he's fire everyone.
So dirty. Got thinking about boobs.
Yep.
I did like it because I didn't get through a whole lot of it, but I did like the bit where he's like, okay, we're going to go in and I'm going to talk to these guys. Let me do the talk. And he goes and he looks at me. He goes like, yeah, you guys come and do the talking.
Yeah.
Talking with swords instead of words.
Yeah. Because that's honestly the bard's role is to charm and win them over, and obviously
that was not going to happen.
And I couldn't think of a better gnome, honestly, a better bard. He plays such a good bard. Yeah. What about Grog? Grog's very childlike, very sweet and simple, but strong.
I was thinking he's probably the only character I could actually play.
Oh, Mel. Oh, he'd be fun. He's a barbarian.
Don't do role play very well. I'm terrible.
You need just a little one shot, and you'll be all right. I think if you did it with us, Liv wants to write something up. I think.
No, there's a reason I didn't sign up for that.
But you could do it with us. You don't always have to be so role play heavy. I don't think you have to be. There is a way around it. You can be just more strategic.
I mean, Critical Role have had such a huge impact on the scene. Like, they actually coined the term the Mercer effect because people would see how amazing Matt Mercer was as a GM and were like, get very intimidated by it, not realizing that you don't have to be as amazing as Matt Mercer to do a decent job.
Exactly.
I've also played with people who don't play a role when they just play the game. You don't have to act the part of your character, and you can let the GM do the storytelling mostly.
See, the reason 100%. I sort of struggle with that side of it, like the idea of not playing it without the role playing, is that's actually the bit that I like about it all. I like the role playing. I'm just freaking good at it. I like watching everyone else do it. It's like I used to do this because I used to play on a role playing server on World of Warcraft, and I would thoroughly enjoy all of the bits and pieces. And even when I play in character, but it's in my head, so I don't have to worry because I just play by myself. So it doesn't matter. And I do things like I have my character's druid, and she doesn't eat meat, and nobody knows but me.
Yeah. I get that. I played a RPG server, and holy crap! No, I had some.
Oh, they get so into it.
Really uncomfortable, hey. And yeah, they were very role play heavy. And I'm like, hey, I didn't realize I was on a role playing server. They would tell me their real name, and I'm like, okay.
Why were you asking real names? I never do that. Okay, so I'm only ever played on a role playing server, so I should shut up.
Good job. You fought adamantly. Okay.
I don't look like that either.
Yeah, you played pretty fucking good yourself, mate.
Play an Australian druid. That's hilarious.
I was a rogue.
Yeah, I love rogues. They're good.
Rogues are so fun. Love rogues. You just can't get around very fast. You just like stealth.
Sneak
forever.
Oh yeah, that's the one. It took me a second, and then I cracked up. Where on the panel he's right. That's right. You've been, and then on the next page it just says Thunderstruck.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
He's the best. I love it. But as Liz was saying, yeah, the Matt Mercer effect is real. A lot of people do get frightened. Is this live?
Yes.
I know my DM. He's not obviously intimidated, but he is so like inspired by him, and I think is amazing because he brings voices to the table. So I think that amazing thing about Matt is that he's the voice actor, and so he does create so many characters, and they all each have a personality, and it comes out of one fucking person, and he's like got everyone's story, and everyone has their role to play, and he knows what direction to take it based off the characters, and it's so much fun.
But you don't have to be like that. So for example, my GM, we have asked him not to do accents.
Oh.
He's not very good at them.
Oh really? Oh no.
Tend to wander around a bit.
Oh bless him though. Oh, good on him for giving it a go. It'd be hard. You'd have to like, keep
it's hard.
Lubricated throat for the growls. But
also you have to have a good ear for it, and not everyone does. It's like a very unique talent.
Yeah. Agreed. So yeah, I think anyone that can pull it off. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it. God no. But,
and I mean, I feel like it's kind of easier for like a player character to do something like that than a GM who is constantly jumping between characters and has to remember, who they are and what the tics of this particular character are and that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they have to deal with it when their players roll d20s when they didn't expect them to, and then they go on chase a horse that they didn't expect them to, and you turn around and you go, "This is your partner. Of course, she's going to go chase a horse. She loves horses."
Well, I mean, I have some strong thoughts on GMing and how that can be done that don't necessarily line up well with the traditional view of Dungeons and Dragons in particular. So.
Oh.
I'm just curious, so you're just going to have to tell us.
You have to say.
Okay. So like the traditional view is that, the GM sets up the story and that sort of thing, whereas I tend to feel like it should be like much more of a collaborative thing that is a lot more improvised than is generally popularly thought of. But it depends. That's also to because I started out in Dungeons and Dragons, but I went down an indie rabbit hole. And I do a lot of, these days, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons at all. I play lots of powered by the Apocalypse systems. So that originally started with Apocalypse World. The sort of Dungeons and Dragons equivalent would be Dungeon World, where the rules are a lot less complicated, and it sort of promotes a lot more collaboration rather than like the GM has the storyline and this is what you're going to do sort of thing, which I think it can be fun if your group is into that. It can also just be really frustrating if you feel like your GM is railroading you through what they think is supposed to happen, or they're not kind of responding to the things that you find fun as a player, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
like it
sounds like having the right group style.
Group issue.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot about setting expectations, like what you want to do as a group, how you're going to approach it. So lots of conversations need to happen around that before you get started.
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable enough to just say it, what you feel about?
In terms of what?
Of the Apocalypse game and the not the Dungeons and Dragons that you're playing, but whatever it was called. What was it called?
Dungeon World?
Dungeon World.
Yeah, no, I enjoy that. We're I mean, I would say if you are starting out in role playing, that Dungeon World is a much better, more accessible game system than Dungeons and Dragons, which is a lot of rules that you, especially if you don't have someone experienced to run it, is very intimidating and overwhelming. I find that Dungeon World is a much more accessible way to go.
Is that otherwise there's Pathfinder? I heard
No, Pathfinder is equally as arcane as Dungeons and Dragons. Lots of rules.
Yes, definitely. I've seen the rules.
But I thought Dungeons and Dragons 5e is better than old Dungeons and Dragons. Easier.
Well, that depends. I am a 3.5 edition girl. We all pretend that 4th edition never happened.
I've heard that.
Yeah. So I'm not super across 5th edition. I was kind of wrapping up my my Dungeons and Dragons days before that came out. So, but I've played a couple of games of it with like just guest spots in friends' campaigns, and like it's been fine. But like Dungeon World is much simpler. it involves like a lot more improvisation and that sort of thing.
I don't mind. I like improv.
Yeah. So, for example, instead of listing like every piece of equipment you have, like you would in Dungeons and Dragons, like Dungeon World says you have like a dungeon delving kit which has, say, 5 uses, and at any point during the game you're like, I pull out a rope, and that's one use of your thing. Rather than saying, I have specifying at the beginning, I have a rope in my bag with me, and then like if you're off wherever and then you need it, then you pull it out.
That's mind blowing. I'm so used to just having to go like, this is what I've got.
Yeah. So much more kind of improvisation in that sense.
I think it also depends on the DM. My DM, he's quite opening. He knows it's like my first time. So he's like, if you want to change a spell out, like every time like we have a new session, let me know. But try and do it when you've leveled and stuff. And so he's got that flexibility there. But I don't know what it's going to be like when we start our new campaign in 2021.
Exciting new campaign.
Yeah, I can't. I will let you know.
But we have wandered the field again. Do we have
topic?
The Curse of Strahd. So that's what we're playing.
Is it a pre-made campaign or?
Yes, it is definitely. Okay. So it's no homebrews. So we'll be getting our asses handed to us. Can't wait. It looks wicked. Like the box it comes in is a massive, like coffin-shaped box. And we weren't allowed to look inside of it, obviously, because it's got like the boss's stats in there and whatnot. But my friend pulled out the sheet page to look at like the picture and like, don't look at the back, And literally, from like looking far away, it was like a wall of stats, and I'm like, oh shit. Oh shit. But I can't wait. My problem is I can't stay on target with how I want to role play because I'm very airy-fairy and I have no idea how I want to play a character, whether I want him to be timid or, I'm not a timid person. I'm very outspoken. So I'm like, I'm just going to be myself. You aren't going to know what hit you. So, yeah, it's very interesting.
And I find most players default to like 1 or 2 types that they tend to stick with, if not like in terms of class, but definitely in terms of personality.
Yeah. I think I could be the quiet bitch, like the bitchy quiet one, or I could just be like the bubbly crazy one. Which
are you saying you play 2 aspects of yourself?
There's more than that, Matt. They're just the easiest ones I can slip into.
Yeah, it's like play what you know.
Play what you know. That's right.
That's good advice. The same for most people. So, like if you're worried about how well you role play, I don't think you need to worry too much.
No, don't worry.
No one's brilliant at it.
No, definitely not. And
maybe like a
scenario will evoke I think if you practice enough, you can really.
Look, I mean, if you're a voice actor as a profession, then sure, maybe.
Sure, yeah, you can. Oh my God, they make it look so easy, but it's so hard. Like when it came to me actually playing and having to like have a dialogue, I was just like,
yeah.
You know what really helps?
I order a beer.
Yeah, I was gonna say a glass of 2 wine.
Oh, tavern wench.
Yep.
So just going back to the story, the ending when they killed the boss. Really, they just got lucky. Is that right?
Pretty much.
Someone rolled really well.
Do you know what? That is literally every fucking fight. Ever. It is
no chance unless I roll a 16 or better.
Brilliant luck.
Yes.
But that's it. Like, oh my God. I gotta tell you, like, I wish I could tell you something from campaign 2, but I won't because it's one of the best things ever. That one of the characters got legendary status for doing said move against a boss, and it was beautiful. It was just fantastic. And you have to be smart because you have to think outside of the box. You got to use your environment. You got to use your items. You got to use your spells. But you can't just stick to your spells because your spells run out. You have to use what you got.
I mean, I see what you're saying about them getting lucky, but at the same time, like it's properly set up in a way.
It's all roll, really. Like if you get a crit, then good stuff happens. If you get a 1, I mean, it can be set up as much as possible. Otherwise, it's all improv. Like it's all whatever the players can do. And then it's Matt once said, like, he doesn't really know. Like, he can set up things, but a lot of the time they don't take that path. They go the opposite route. They'll do whatever.
But I mean, like, in terms of the story, like...
sorry.
I just felt like that he didn't show that level of capability or strength against her previously, and then suddenly came in and managed it.
Grog. You're talking about Grog, right?
Yeah. Grog.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. I wish there was a bit of a segment where where they cut to him fighting in the water, maybe, because all of a sudden, like, he was just there. Yeah.
Well, I got him just coming in, like, because he was caught up in the water, and so he finally got there. But like, when he was fighting with her before, he didn't seem to have any sort of equal level. She dominated the group entirely. So.
But if he's raging, he's very strong. And yeah, it would all be, I guess, you just gathered it. It's just got to be from a roll, like a lucky roll, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. I think that's what they may be incorporating.
Look, I personally have the opinion that a lot of the time when you're doing these sorts of fights in real life, that's actually true. Like, it's not always just I'm skillful. If you're battling someone who's of equal or better skill, to beat them, you've essentially got to get lucky. Like...
Essentially, yeah. But can I just point out the most wonderful little scene I thought was so funny? Like, they're all discussing...
I know the one you mean.
Yeah. They're all like, just, hey, what should we do? You know,
Grog
like,
just goes off,
yeah, and Grog like slowly just fucks off in the background.
Yeah.
And just starts like, you guys talk. I'm just gonna do what I want. And you get characters like that. You get players like that. Like,
no, he's a character like that. That's
because
for sure.
Sometimes you got it. Otherwise, you become like a stalemate, and everyone's got all these ideas, and you're all button heads, and you just got to go, fuck it, make a decision.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes you're Leroy Jenkins.
A lot of the time, it works for them.
There have some recent games have actually been designed to get around that by saying so I'm thinking specifically of Blades in the Dark, which is like a sort of, you play like an underworld gang game. And it's like particularly like a heist, for example, and it functions very much like the Lee Bardugo book that we read. It's like you start in the middle of it, and then you flash back to how you got there. So you don't spend forever going, oh, how are we going to do this? What approach are we going to take? You just roll to see what your situation is. Is it good? Is it fine? Is it terrible? And then you kind of go from there, because otherwise groups do get bogged down in exactly what happens here. If it hadn't been for Grog, just going, oh, should we do it this way? Oh, we could do it this way.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have a plan, but sometimes the plans just don't, there's just no real way around it. You can't really, and you just have to go with the ballsy thing, or just have a Grog in your party.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great character moment for Grog.
On the note of the fight, I feel like the first time they were fighting, she pulled a spell out of her ass to stop him, because he was whipping her butt until she pulled that spell out and put him in a bubble. This time she didn't have that thing to pop him in the bubble. So they were equally matched until she pulled an awesome spell out of her ass.
It kind of...
It would have been
It seems to me the issues are predicated around like knowledge of Dungeons and Dragons, basically. So like that, you know, that Grog's a barbarian and a barbarian will rage and like have super strength or whatever. But if you're not a Dungeons and Dragons player, like it might not make as much sense.
Yeah, I think having some kind of knowledge is beneficial.
Well, I definitely don't have that
following
knowledge.
along.
So apart from the mentioning of him going into rage, but I got that. Like I understood it, and maybe that's the World of Warcraft thing, because like that is elements
Like
of
there
character
definitely
play.
be overlap there for sure.
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
You're saying it was the lack of familiarity with that sort of mechanic that made it seem a bit more sort of like,
juice
oh,
Mac.
just
Obvious.
this thing. Yes, yeah.
But Mel's saying for someone who doesn't know D&D but still gathered what was happening by previous games, which is still pretty good.
Yeah, look, I feel like I probably had more knowledge than your average person who hasn't played D&D, because I've had exposure to things like World of Warcraft and, you know, a lot of fantasy and things along those lines. So I think I picked up on the fact that was definitely what was happening. He was in his rage mode and stuff. It just, I don't know, maybe it's the power level of the rage that didn't transmit. Like I got that that's what was going on, but yeah, maybe that was the difference. Maybe it was because, as Kim said, in the previous battle he was taken out of it so quickly that I sort of didn't have enough of an impression of what his strength against her was. So
I kind of like how Scanlan, like if you read through it like again or whatever, you kind of see that he's actually really full of great ideas, like on the spot. I love that.
it's really hard to spot it amongst all of the bullshit he talks, though.
No, but that's what's
the thing.
magical about it. I know.
Yes,
He's a character that you're not really, you feel like you're not going to like him, but that he just grows on you.
I don't know. He kind of bugged me a bit sometimes.
Yeah.
But I
very
like
sexist. Like, not the way you speak to women, but
also like that whole the whole trajectory that most like groups go through, they'd be like, oh, we're all out for ourselves and we actually don't want to stick together, but like, you know, eventually come together in the end anyway. Like, which is why I like the druid, because she's friendly and she's like, hey, you guys are cool, let's hang out. And you know,
Tiberius was the same, really. He was not in the same way, but he was similar in that respect, so that he was, you know, happy to meet people who he was happy to work with and things like that. And he was welcoming. I think is probably less friendly, more welcoming and interested in people. Whereas I agree with Scanlan, and Grog doesn't matter so much because Grog just follows Scanlan. But Scanlan, like, I didn't quite understand why he ended up joining them at the end.
Like he talks about it making a better story, but it seemed weak.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially because he also seemed to have a pretty strong self-preservation streak. So I was like, why?
And he's like, okay.
But I also got that this was a D&D game and the whole point was for them to form the team. And so...
Yeah. But I'm just trying to, see, I don't know campaign 1 enough to see if I can relate that enough to the actual character. But I guess it would be, I don't think they'd approve it if it wasn't, and have the same likeliness as how Sam played.
This was just one comic. Like we're introduced to him as a character on a base level, but we don't necessarily know him at a full depth. So I get that there's possibly more going on than we could see.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's his whole backstory as well, and but he is essentially a bard that likes boobs and just wants to. Pretty simple, really.
I was like, the dragon.
I just realised that this scene is actually Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, it totally is.
Yeah, it's just Leroy Jenkins.
Leroy's like Grog doesn't think, he does.
Yes. Yeah.
He's a does guy.
Yep.
And I love him so much. He's so lovable when you watch him roleplay. Oh, he's so funny.
I just felt like I was watching.
He's a big
Rocket
sweetheart.
and the tree?
Groot.
Yeah, I was basically watching Rocket and Groot.
Oh,
Rocket and
sorry.
Groot, yeah.
And Rocket Scanlan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, the only difference is that Rocket will actually get involved with the fight, whereas Scanlan was just sort of like dodge.
It was still because the role of a bard is you kind of.
No, I'm not saying he wasn't useful. I'm just saying he wasn't exactly the same as Rocket in a fight.
Yeah, Rocket was. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think if anyone's more similar to Scanlan, it's probably
Microphone.
Jazz.
I can't hear you, Jazz.
Your microphone's really far away from your mouth.
Oh,
there we go.
I thought you said I muted it. I'm like, I didn't touch it.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know what to talk about. I think we focus more on D&D.
Shall we wrap up then?
Well, I think in a lot of respects, it was a fairly basic story that was using D&D as a vehicle to create it. So there's a fairly good reason why we were focused on the D&D aspect.
I also feel like a lot of volumes, like a lot of like volume ones, are essentially like introductions to, like many first books, introductions to characters, and there's not a lot of, it's not fairly plot driven. There's always just like a quick short thing, middle, end. Yeah,
as long as it's this sort of story. If it's something different, then it might be a bit different. But for this sort of story, it's always fairly basic in terms of its initial structure, and then it breaks off from there. So
cool.
I might.
Let's end it. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got anything they want to add?
Yeah.
We're good. All right. Good. Thanks anybody who watched. See you in 2021.
Yeah.
Yay.